Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, September 27th. Today would be a really good day to find out if Josh Duggar is going to go on to trial and if all of these motions that he filed were actually taken seriously by the court or if the court decided to deny them. Well, it sounds like Josh was in court literally all day. Yes, that's right. And the court released the minute entries of what happened today in court. We'll have to wait for the transcript, which could take some time, but there's a lot to unpack here, and here is how it starts. So at 9:35, the court convened, and they did a procedural history by the court. And one of the very first things that Josh Duggar decided to do was he wanted to withdraw witness number 2. Only witness number 2 in the motion to dismiss for the government's failure to preserve potentially exculpatory evidence. The government then responded and requested that the entire motion be dismissed. The court decided they were going to have witness number 2 be withdrawn. Now, here's the thing. Josh Duggar doesn't want us to know who witness number 2 is because we find out the identities of witness number 3 and 1. Remember, witness number 3 is the one that he wants to pin this on, and witness number 1 is the individual that didn't have the best understanding about social media, but was somehow maybe a good suspect for Josh. Who are these people and what's going on? Well, I don't have that information just yet. Hang on tight. So they decide to withdraw witness number 2. Now, the fact that they withdrew with witness number 2 makes me feel like Josh doesn't want us to know who that is. And because they released the identities of witness number 1 and number 3, I'm inclined to believe it's somebody close to the Duggars, like maybe one of the brothers, maybe someone like Paul Caldwell, someone around the Duggars that they didn't want the public to know about. They didn't seem unconcerned about the public knowing about 2 other people involved in this. So it started off with testimony on behalf of the government by Gerald Faulkner. They provided an application with attachments for the search warrant. They provided photographs of the wholesale motor cars lot to the court. They provided recordings of the defendants interviewed, and they were played for the court. Oh, I wish I would have heard this. And they said there was a transcript of the number 3, so they put in the full transcript into the court hearings. They also brought in as testimony and as evidence Josh Duggar's statements of rights form. They had a paycheck with the name made payable to Matthew Waller. Hold on to that name. Hold on to that name, Matthew Waller. And they had a check made payable to Randall Steve Berry. They also had into evidence the forensic examination summary from May 13th through, it says, 14/19. And then the forensic examination summary from 5/15/19. They went to lunch and then they reconvened. During that time, Gerald Faulkner continued his testimony and he provided a report of the investigation and more photographs of the car lot. So Josh Duggar did not get on the stand. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like Josh's side brought in any testimony. It doesn't look like they brought in any evidence. It looks like for the most part, it was Gerald Faulkner and Gerald Faulkner alone. And as a result of that, then there was some arguments by counsel for both sides, and the judge came up with this. On his motion to suppress statements and the request for an evidentiary hearing, it was denied by the court. So the statements that Josh made to agents on the date of the search warrant and the thing that he said he wanted to talk to an attorney and that he had been denied the constitutional rights by not being allowed to talk to his attorney, that was denied. Arguments from counsel and then the motion to dismiss for government's failure to preserve potentially exculpatory evidence related to the witnesses in this case, that was denied by the court. So the searches that they did of the phones and the searches that they did when they met with these witnesses and they determined that the witnesses were not there and that there was nothing suspicious on their phones, they're not going to allow this case to be dismissed based on that. So that was denied too. They did an argument in counsel for the motion to suppress the photographs of Josh's hands and feet while in custody. So Josh and his team was arguing that they made Josh pose. It was so violating. They had to go over his shoulder and they did it outside of counsel. And even though Josh consented, that was also denied by the court. Next, the argument from counsel on the motion to dismiss the indictment for the violation of the appointments clause, denied by the court. So this means they cannot blame Donald Trump for the appointment of the HSI secretary that they claimed was illegal. And because it was an illegal appointment, they said that they couldn't, they had to throw out the entire investigation. Okay, so let's back up here and take a look at these names of these witnesses, because if you remember, Josh Duggar is blaming the witnesses. Who were the witnesses? Well, according to the pay stubs that they gave to the court, Matthew Waller. Who is Matthew Waller? David Waller's younger brother. Who's David Waller? David Waller is Josh's brother-in-law. Who is David Waller married to? Priscilla. Priscilla is Anna's sister. He was going to try to pin this and say that witness number, whatever he was, 1 or 3, and I'm guessing maybe 1, I don't know, could have potentially been a person of interest in this, right? Matthew Waller is the youngest of the Waller family. So according to the family information, Matthew is the youngest brother of David Waller, of the Waller family. So Brian and Sue Waller are David's parents. So Matthew is the youngest of the Wallers, and David is his older brother. So Josh Duggar was going to try to pin this, maybe, and use his brother-in-law's younger brother as a suspect in his case to get out of this. If you are David and Priscilla, how do you feel about your brother-in-law potentially trying to pin this on your younger brother? How do you think that looks to these people? If you remember, 2 of the witnesses seemed to know each other. Maybe witness number 2 could have been David Waller. Now, Randy is the one that was working at the lot, I believe, at the time, because Randy was at the lot when the search happened. So Randy would have been the one that might have been sleeping over, might have been a person of interest, might have been looking at adult stuff. And here's the thing. He was going to try to pin it on his employee, Randy, and he had no problem trying to pin it on potentially David Waller's little brother. If I were Priscilla and David Waller, I would be furious. But I don't know if they know this. Also, because of the way that their cult works, they'll probably pray for Josh and pray for his forgiveness and ask Josh to repent. It makes me wonder who witness number 2 was. Who did they not want us to know about? I think it was probably someone he was related to, maybe one of his brothers, or maybe a father, like one of his brother's father-in-laws, maybe something like that, because the court released the names and they did not want witness number 2's name released. We don't know witness number 2. I would be furious if I were David and Priscilla Waller. I would be furious if I were Anna. But then, for Anna's sake, do you think she's sitting there thinking, well, of course it could have been Matthew over my husband. I mean, Matthew. Why not Matthew? I feel really sad for the individuals in this case that are trying to get pinned on this. Like, I'm sure Randall is apparently the one that might have had some criminal history, but Matthew Waller, trying to pin it on Matthew Waller. Could there be a reason why no one wanted to be at this hearing today? Why Nobody was interested in being there today. Why, you know, could there be a reason why no one wanted to be there? I honestly have to wonder. I have to wonder who in this family he isn't willing to throw to the wolves. The good news is that everything that goes on here is denied. Now we're still waiting to hear about the motion to suppress the evidence based on the warrants. So they have not yet ruled on the motion 37, which was a motion to suppress evidence in a Frakes hearing. So that was the only one I noticed that had not been ordered on those minute orders or was not included on the minute order. I don't know if they just didn't get around to it. I don't know if the judge wants to think about it and look at some of the information, but everything except for that one has been ruled on. And there wasn't like a positive ruling for 37 at all either. So Josh Duggar has a big loss in court. His parents just wasted a ton of money on a wild goose chase. And I'm sure the government was fed up, which is why they held this hearing so quickly and everything got denied, except for, well, we're waiting on 37. So tell me what your thoughts are. What do you think is, who do you think witness number 2 is? Why would he withdraw it right before the hearing? What do you think about the potential of him trying to pin this on his brother-in-law's younger brother? Does that disgust you? Do you think if you were David and Priscilla, you would be like, I can't do this anymore, I can't support this? Or do you think that David and Priscilla will just be like, well, it's whatever? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.